I have a logistics problem. I'm primarily a Helix user. It's what I use every single day, but it literally has a big problem when I want to bring it out of my studio. It's about the size and weight of a small child, or a bag of rice if you're Asian. I want my Helix amp sounds to be portable. They're a product of the many hours spent tweaking, using them live, and then retweaking to get them sounding the way I want them to. Helix Stomp is a solution, but it's not the easiest to integrate into a pedal board. I have to take up 2 slots on a power supply with a current doubler and further adapt it to fit the Helix Stomp's power input. I saw the ToneX one sitting on my mono small pedal board and was wishing they had my Helix sounds, and then it hit me. The ToneX pedals are just capture players. They take in whatever captures you put into them. You normally think of capturing a physical amp, but why not a digital capture? After all you're doing is pushing the signal through a device and not a real amp, cab, and mic setup. And since Helix has reamping capabilities of a whole host of input and output options with an input preamp that's tweaked for guitar, why not use the Helix as a capture device? Let me show you how I set up the Helix to be a ToneX capture device to create captures of my Helix amps. Let's go from the very top, hardware setup. The Helix is a standalone device in every sense of the word. No complicated patching or cables required. Everything is routed internally with the only 2 cable portions, your instrument lead and your headphones. What's more important is software setup. Welcome to Screen Cap Mode, and here I'm going to show you the exact process I took to capture the sounds on my Helix. And this is what you got to do. First, make sure that your Helix is connected via USB and you've got instrument cable connected to the Helix as well as to your monitor system. It can be headphones, it can be a pair of monitors, it really doesn't matter. Secondly, have both ToneX and HX Edit up and running. The great thing about using Helix for capturing is that everything is internally routed. You don't need to have any extra cables lying around. Let's get started. Let's click on modular. I'm going to click on guitar. Let's go to amp and cab. And now you come to the screen where you need to route things to and fro the Helix. So you're going to select Helix audio. Now, it can be very intimidating and scary, so let's do the easy things first. Let's connect your guitar to the system first. And so the guitar goes into input 1. That's the first thing you want to do. Next, you want to hear the captures coming out of your device through your headphones, and that is outputs 1 and 2. So go to monitor L, monitor right, select output 1, output 2. That was the easy part. Input routing, output routing, easy. Now you need to figure out the loop back side of the equation in Helix. Essentially, we need a closed loop. ToneX needs to send a signal to your amp rig that you want to capture, and that amp rig has to send out signal back into ToneX via the capture device. And so essentially, if you can follow my mouse cursor, we're going to start from here. ToneX is going to send a signal to your rig, and your rig is going to output microphone 1, 2, or 1 microphone if it's just a mono signal back into ToneX here. So this is the closed loop that we need to route ToneX and Helix together. Helix has a dedicated pair of inputs and outputs that are just for reamping, and that is inputs 5, 6, outputs 5, 6. You're going to start here with output 5. Doesn't matter whether it's 5 or 6, it's a mono signal. And then with microphones 1 and 2, you're going to have input 3, input 4. This will correspond to the USB outputs 3 and 4 on your device. To recap slowly, output 5 is sent from ToneX into your rig, and this part here is going to be whichever amp cap override we're trying to capture. And then these 2 outputs are going to be from Helix back into ToneX. This is going to be USB outputs 3 and 4. Armed with this information, I got a 2 screen side by side. Let's route Helix. On one path, we're going to dedicate it for the amp capture. And so you want this to be USB 5 or 6 because this is hearing USB 5.6. This is then going to be routed to USB 3.4 because you're going to be routing the microphones 1 and 2 back to ToneX by USB 3 and 4. So on path 1, which is going to be your amp capture path, USB 5.6 for the input, USB 3.4 for the output. On path 2, and that's purely for dry monitoring purposes, you can put this as guitar and keep this as multi. Now I do want to capture my Supro amp, so I'm going to copy, go into my amp site here, paste, then I'm going to have a cab. For this, I want my silver bell, position it the way I want to, and I'm going to add a parametric EQ. I'm not sure if having a low cut and high cut has any adverse effects on the capturing process, but so far it hasn't. Once you're happy with the sound, you can go to Next, check Setup Levels. Now, there's a lot of debate as to whether hot input versus low input is going to have an adverse effect on your tone. In my case, I like to have a little bit more wiggle room with headroom, and therefore, I don't want my input levels to be clipping. Because when I switch from this guitar to a humbucking guitar that I have, I don't want a situation where the humbuckers is way too hot, or conversely, if I tweak the guitar for a humbucker, I don't want this kind of guitar where it's not so high output to be lost. So I'm just going to leave it as it is, and all my guitars, regardless of the pickups or how hot they are, have sounded great through the preamp. So I'm going to click on next. One thing you need to check is the input levels that ToneX is sending out. Let's hear the DI input. That's way too high. You need to add in a gain block and reduce that gain. And from my experience, minus 6 dB is a good starting point. I like to have this set up roughly between 3 to 2 dots, just so that I don't clip the input gain side of things. Now we capture. You should be able to hear the beeps and the dots. That sound. This is going to take a while, so I'm going to take a break. After the capture process, you'll be directed to select a training accuracy level. A lot of people push for advanced training, which is supposed to be the most accurate, but be warned, it takes a very long time. I couldn't film the process, but I essentially spent the night taking care of my kids from dinner time right up till their bedtime, which is around 2.5 hours, and it still wasn't finished. I compared the default and advanced training, and to my ears, there wasn't a discernible difference. But that could be my rusty ears. Let me know if you guys are experiencing big differences between the two training levels. Default training should take about 20 to 30 minutes. Finally, let's put the capture through its paces. I've wired my ToneX ones in the send and return of a Helix preset, placing an FX loop right next to the amp and cap blocks. I'll toggle between the two in post so you can hear if there are any differences. This capture process is a game changer. Now I have my familiar amp and cap tones occupying much less pedalboard real estate and a setup that doesn't need special adapting to work with my existing power supply. These have been so enjoyable to use that I am launching an official ToneX pack on my Buy Me a Coffee page. You get every single amp capture and my recommended starting point of which amps to pair with, but feel free to mix and match to your specific liking. Links will be available in the pinned comment and the description box. How about you? Are you a Helix and ToneX user who will be implementing this workflow to capture your own Helix amp and cap pairings? Do you hear a difference between the tone samples? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. This video is part of my IK Multimedia series. If you found value in it, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be kept up to date on my latest ToneX explorations. Feel free to check out my previous videos on ToneX, including a fully in-the-box setup for the ToneX plugin. See you there.